Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, February 13, 2018. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. On the heels of the one-year anniversary of operations at the Argyle International Airport, tomorrow, February 14, 2018, Opposition leader Dr. Godwin Friday is calling for a forensic audit to be done on the air facility. Making his presentation at what his party calls the People's Budget on Monday evening at Democrat House, the opposition leader said that a forensic audit must be conducted into the country's largest capital project. He said that there are reports that the cost to build the air facility amounts to some $700 million, but that the opposition believes that it is over $1 billion. Dr. Friday also expressed the need to have the Petro-Caribe project audited as well.
A need for an independent forensic audit of the Argyle International Airport project and for the Petro-Caribe scheme. This should be done under the control of the Director of Audit. The government has failed to do so and to meet its obligation under the Constitution. I know that they interpret the Constitution to suit themselves, but the law is the law, and Section 75 of the Constitution requires that monies voted by Parliament be accounted for in Parliament, not in any other office. Of failing to provide proper accounting, we cannot say exactly what money was spent. We say about 1.3 billion that it cost. They say that it cost about $700 million. How do we know that money wasn't wasted and misappropriated? In the past, they've admitted that funds were stolen from the project. But we don't know how much was stolen because we don't have any proper accounting.
The opposition leader is also of the view that too little finances are being injected into the audit department for persons to carry out their work, and this, he said, must be corrected.
I had raised the issue publicly at the urging, quite frankly, of the Director of Audit, that the audit department needs resources in terms of personnel and money and training. But nothing has been provided in the estimates this year to account for that, to show that any cognizance is being taken of that demand. In fact, I think there's a small increase in the recurrent budget of about $40,000 or thereabouts to the audit department. That obviously cannot account for the auditing of a project like the Argyle project. And let's face it, the largest infrastructure project in the country, it cannot go unaudited. We cannot have a proper accounting of it. So we continue to make that demand.
Stressing on the issue of economic development, opposition Senator Zita Barnwell emphasized the need for more employment opportunities for women in this country. Barnwell said more women need to become self-sufficient to come out of relationships where they rely on partners who mistreat them.
Unemployment is high amongst our women, and key to women moving out of abusive relationships is employment. Key to young people in relationship moving out of abusive relationship is employment. But I would say this much though, because while it's important for our women to have jobs, sense of self, decent work, I want to touch on something that the ministry itself and any government in fact will have to tackle. Because the issue of violence against women and girls, and violence in general, is not one that one can say overnight you can eliminate. It's a cultural issue. We have strong patriarchal values and traditions of how the relationship between men and women.
Member of Parliament for the Southern Grenadines, Terence Oliver, expressed his disapproval for the $8 tax which will be placed on hotels. Oliver said this and other stipulations are extra burdens on business operators here and are forcing them out of business.
the tourists who come to the Southern Grenadines fly straight from Barbados, St. Lucia, and places like that. The expense to travel from these islands to the Grenadines is roughly $1,400, $1,400. But hear what? From Barbados, from Europe, from Miami, you can fly to Barbados for less, $960. So when you have to pay these exorbitant fees, and then you go on now with the little money that people like Lambis and all the others would make if they get a few guests, and you want to tax that further, so you're trying to kill the yachting industry, you're trying to kill the little hotel and guest houses down there who are making the little money. Lord have mercy, I want to put my hand on my head and bawl. What will happen to the people of the Southern Grenadines?
And former opposition leader Arnim Eustace said that the 0.2% average economic growth for SVG from 2009 to 2016 is pathetic. Eustace, who is an economist, accused the ruling Unity Labour Party of living a lie of how the business of the country is being run and called on the administration to handle the finances properly. He said that information from the International Monetary Fund revealed that youth unemployment is at 46% and overall unemployment is at 25%. And this, he said, is unacceptable.
Because it's a fiction, you're living on a lie, and they know it's a lie. And I want the people of this country, we have spoken with this thing every year, but our public doesn't seem to grasp what it means. But you now have years of information. 0.2% of growth between 2009 and 2016. 0.2% average, which means you had a lot of years when there was no negative growth. We had 1 year when you had 4% negative growth and 3% negative growth minus. We spoke about all these things. Nobody pay any mind. And that's where we are today. With 46% youth unemployment and 25% employment overall. That's why we are here. We said that long ago. We will not be able to grow if you don't handle your finances properly.
The East Kingston MP said that the government's vision should be that of job creation and that diplomatic missions should also facilitate more investment opportunities for the country.
Have one or two people in those missions who can work along with the private sector ministry to encourage people to invest at home, because they're right up there with them and can advise them on what procedures and so on to be followed. I don't want a ministry that's just dealing with the embassy, just dealing with passports, you know, and consular matters. I want a ministry and a mission that will help with the creation of jobs in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we have people there pushing pen. I want them to involve in something productive.
The evidence and data to be gathered through an upcoming country poverty assessment is expected to effect changes in the way the issue of poverty is tackled here in SVG. That's the view of Minister of Finance Camilo Gonzalez as he delivered remarks at the launch of a Human Development Service Delivery project here earlier today. The project, which speaks to improving skills training for the poor and vulnerable population, will, according to Minister Gonzalez, provide information which can aid in the further development of solutions to a number of social ills relative to these modern times.
That we hope to gather on the nature of our labor market, on the nature of our delivery of social benefits, and on the nature of poverty in St. Vincent and the Grenadines now. It's very important. The last time we did a country poverty assessment was before the global economic and financial crisis. And the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines post-crisis is different than the pre-crisis economy. And although from a GDP perspective, we have recovered from the downturn, the recovery has been different. This particular country poverty assessment being the first such assessment after the global economic and financial crisis, and coming essentially a decade after the collapse of Lehman Brothers, which precipitated the crisis, is an important assessment that will give us a good shape of the contours of modern poverty in a multi-island state.
The Human Development Services Delivery Project, which is estimated to cost some 28.7 million EC dollars, gained high praises from the finance minister.
So a project that trains teachers, that helps children with special needs, that trains parents, that makes our development of social benefits to the vulnerable more effective, that strengthens our labor laws, that trains young men and women and gives them technical and vocational skills and certification, that helps us to make evidence-based, data-driven, tailored and targeted decisions about how we address social ills, and that checks so many boxes of the Sustainable Development Goals. Can't be all bad. So I apologize to my team for my initial skepticism, and I thank the Caribbean Development Bank and the World Bank for their excellent work.
Defending the appointment of his daughter-in-law, Karen Duncan Gonzalez, to the position of Acting Director of the Finances Services Authority, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonzalez said that she is very qualified for the job with extensive experience. He explained on Boom FM recently that the newly appointed acting FSA director refers to herself professionally as Karen Duncan, as her certificates have this reference.
But she refers to herself professionally as Karen Duncan.
Okay.
That's how she refers to herself. This is a woman who was a hotshot rising young lawyer in a big law firm, then went to work with the Jamaican Fair Trading Commission, dealing with a lot of compliance issues. She has been a member on the board of FSA, Financial Services Authority, for 3 years. Now, let me say this. The Financial Services Authority is the regulatory body for non-banking financial institutions like building and loan, insurance, credit unions, money services businesses. You understand me?
Yes.
Non-banking. The banking ones are done by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. Mrs. Bollers, Shada Sinan Bollers, she demitted office on the 31st of January. She has some things of a personal family nature which she wants to deal with, and will take her some time. So she demitted. An excellent woman. And I want to thank her for her tremendous service. And she will come back and work in some capacity, and she'll still help us even while she's doing what she's doing.
The Prime Minister noted that the appointment of his daughter-in-law is illegal, noting also that her position is temporary. He said the former director of the Financial Services Authority, Shada Bollers, had taken leave since January 31st, 2018 to attend to personal matters.
So the board, in its wisdom, took the decision that they would appoint somebody to act, not from any of the 3 inside who applied. They could have done that, but they felt that, look, I don't want to give anybody any expectation that they're going to get the job and they don't get it, they get disappointed, or to make anybody feel inside anyway. So they will have somebody from not inside of the FSA itself on the permanent staff. And the law allows them to select somebody from the board to be a temporary.
So Karen Duncan was a member of the board when she got this appointment?
For 3 years. While she was senior counsel.
So is her position temporary then? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, this is the point. In fact, let me say this to you. The law says they can do up to 90 days, somebody temporary. You don't need the approval of the minister for that. And
a call has been made here for Vincentians to play their part in ensuring forest resources are not exploited. The call comes from Director of Forestry Fitzgerald Providence as he spoke on Magic 103.7 Sunday Brunch program highlighting issues relating to the forested areas of SVG. Providence said whilst the department does its utmost to maintain and protect the forested areas, community support is necessary. Highlighting the dangers of practices such as river poisoning, Providence spoke of the success which can be had when communities get involved in protecting local wildlife.
That can have negative impacts. Even the persons who may consume that crayfish, which may be in another part of St. Vincent or the Grenadines or wherever. The poison, although you may say is a little thing, that poison accumulates in our bodies, and we see the end result in terms of cancers and different ailments. And that's something we want persons to be more vigilant in terms of the communities. And we've had that impact where there's a river poisoning. We do get community people who would call in and so on. Okay. We had a very successful year last year in the Grenadines where we have a new lizard that is being exploited, and we were able to apprehend someone involved in the exploitation. We got the support of the community group down there with the wardens, and then we had the police who also were involved and understood what was going on, and there was a successful prosecution in terms of, and I'm sure the lessons are learned in terms of protecting our wildlife.
The Director of Forestry further stated that the illegal marijuana cultivation continues to hamper the forests of SVG and expressed hope that the introduction of a medical marijuana industry can aid in curbing this trend.
We're hoping that we continue to curb that trust for the hills, where it impacts on our watershed resources, our wildlife and our watershed resources, which is negative. And we can see if we go into medicinal marijuana, we're in a more controlled environment where persons are licensed to grow these things, and therefore we won't have that challenge. But there's still that area of recreational marijuana use that is a challenge to us in the forest areas, and we would like to see that stop, because it's not the gains of the dollars does not equate to the damage on the environment in terms of the loss of use of the Falls of Berlin, or the contamination of watershed resources, or the impact on the parrot reserves and so on. So these things we continue to look at and improving our legislation in terms of looking at critical area protection, where some areas of the forest would be just a no zone. You have to get a permit to enter that area because it's important, particularly along our water catchments.
Also speaking on the program was forestry officer and community activist Joel Poyer, who highlighted the need for the enforcement of the law relating to the forest, as well as the need for communities to play a role in protecting the environment.
A couple of youngsters are on the market the other evening. Although I'm on vacation and I saw it doing something that was illegal and wrong. Well, one eventually understand the picture, but two tell me that if I arrest him, which by when he go come and burn down my house. I went to the police and I report the matter, but nothing happened. Okay. So these are the situations that we are facing, but the monitoring is a very critical aspect of any legislation, and being successful in addressing a number of these things that is impacting on the environment. And we have to get the community involved, and they have to see it in a non-partisan way. It's not political. And when we talk about government, we are not talking about politics, but basically we, as taxpayers, who own and is responsible. So we have to put it in that sense.
The C.W. Prescott Primary School is implementing various strategies to improve the level of literacy and numeracy amongst its students. That's according to Principal Susat King as she spoke with our news team on Monday as the school launched activities to commemorate Literacy Week and the second phase of the That Day in School program. Highlighting the purpose of the week of activities, which concludes on Friday, King said it is part of the institution's trust in improving the reading and writing skills of students, adding that the school is part of the Child-Friendly School initiative, which has a positive impact on the students.
According to our development plan, we are focusing on literacy and numeracy. This week has been set aside for the Literacy Week. We are focusing on raising the levels of literacy in our students. We have been making strides, but we are not too satisfied with the level at which our students are reading and writing. So we are setting aside this week specially so that they can do extra work and highlight the successes of students where literacy is concerned. Classrooms are so decorated and meaningful that they're excited to come to school. Most of the classes are on board. We are working on the upper classes. We always have a problem with the upper classes, but they're coming. We have made significant strides where the child-friendly school is concerned in terms of enhancing the classrooms, and I think most teachers are on board. It's just that every teacher have not had the opportunity to really get down to business and really organize the classroom, but they are getting there. I am happy and it's a positive move.
Highlighting the activities for the week, which include a Reading Emphasis Day, a Love, Friendship and Literacy Day, as well as a Spelling Bee competition, was the Literacy Week coordinator Ann Gordon, who said the activities will culminate on Friday with a Character and Poetry Day, and expressed confidence that the activities will have a positive impact on the student population.
And Poetry Day. Poetry is where in the afternoon they would display their poems. Some students will come and say their poems or their rhyme, and they will have fun. So that's the end of the week. So yes, that's what we get the activities for that, because our theme, you got the theme already? Our theme is building students' capacity through literacy. So the activities that we will be engaging them in is to motivate them, motivate them for now and the days and the weeks and the months to come. We kind of hype them up now and then we move on from there. Okay, we make them aware of what literacy is all about, and they will be encouraged to do more reading and writing, creative writing and oral communicating.
Taking the opportunity to show off the work done to make her classroom a child-friendly one was Henrietta Bilenji, a teacher at the school, who illustrated how the environment can aid in the development of her students.
Okay, this classroom represents Storyland. Children love stories, so I tap into that. Whether you read it to them or they read it themselves, they love stories. So I try to capture all genres of story. Like I have Bible stories, they have fairy tales, Anansi stories, and try to make the classroom real child-friendly. And they're over there playing, fishing, entertaining themselves. Now when children do well, they know that they can, especially if they finish completing the work, they know that they can go to any corner in the classroom freely. I don't have to tell them go and do that. Once they've completed the work, they choose which center they want to go to and entertain themselves meaningfully in that corner.
Vincentians here at home will be given the opportunity to learn more about the culture and heritage of our Garifuna ancestors as the Garifuna Heritage Foundation hosts for yet another year a week of activities geared at sensitizing the public, especially the youth, on Garifuna practices and culture. The program of activities will be held from March 8th to March 24th. Held in collaboration with the UWI Open Campus SVG, the series of activities will also see the inclusion of the Garifuna diaspora cultural performances along with presentations from renowned historians and researchers. Nikita Tony tells us more in this report.
As part of its thrust to raise awareness about the Garifuna culture and promote the retrieval of the Garifuna heritage here in SVG, the Garifuna Heritage Foundation TGHF earlier today, Tuesday, February 13th, held a media launch to officially promote a week of activities to commemorate the 2018 National Heritage Month. Set to commence on March 8th and culminate on March 24th, this year's week of activities will, according to President of TGHF, David Daki Williams, see two added attractions, one of which will be a theatre production headed by TGHF.
The cultural marketplace, the theatre production, and the meeting of the indigenous and tribal peoples of the Caribbean. Look forward to having a grand time with our friends, our brothers and sisters, and we hope to see all of you there and to share with you what is happening with indigenous people and the indigenous cultures across the Caribbean.
Speaking on one of the main features of the week of activities, the International Garifuna Conference, Chair of the Conference Committee, Vanessa de Mercion, outlined that the event will this year be held under the theme, The Island of Baliso, Sacred Lands or Economic Opportunity.
The conference will open on Tuesday, March 12th, with an exciting ceremony featuring Dr. Yannick Hume's keynote address titled Baliso, Heritage, Memory, and the Ancestral Legacy of Garifuna Identity. The conference will then resume on Wednesday, 13th March 2018, with panel presentations beginning at 9 a.m. and running throughout the day. Registrations to attend the conference will open from 8 a.m. and can also be made prior to the event by email, euromayconference@gmail.com.
Representative of the Department of Culture, Cledonna Peters, highlighted her ministry's elation to partner with TGHF in carrying out the week of activities, in particularly the school's Garifuna Folk Festival, which is slated for March 9th at the Victoria Park.
The theme for the school's Garifuna Cultural Festival is Children of Chatouyer, Fruits of Our Heritage. Prior to the festival, there will be a march from the Bishop's College, Kingstown grounds, to the Victoria Park. Students will be attired in the Garifuna colors, which are yellow, black, and white. Festival will target both primary and secondary schools throughout our country. So far, we have confirmed the participation of 11 primary schools and 10 secondary schools.
Delivering remarks on behalf of the Ministry of Education, Senior Education Officer Aldia Gums-Dyer fully endorsed the proceedings of the school's Garifuna Folk Festival.
Our business is to educate and to do so holistically. Therefore, this exercise is clearly in keeping with the ministry's mandate. Through this activity, we expect to raise levels of consciousness in understanding our national heritage. We aim to transfer aspects of our culture to the younger generation and allow them to experience this inheritance in a way that will heighten their sensitivity to the issues of cultural preservation.
Patrons, especially young individuals attending this year's celebratory activities, can expect to witness presentations from local, regional, and international delegates, along with a number of fun, innovative events to learn about the Garifuna heritage. Nikita Tony reporting for SVG-TV News.